Okay, thanks once again for joining. So, as I mentioned, we had our incredible, amazing members juried exhibition from the 26th of July to 7th of August. And I must say it was one of the biggest ones yet, both in terms of the entries we received, as well as the turnout for both the opening event as well as our wrap party. Okay. I just thought I'd share some images from the exhibition for those of you who couldn't make it there personally. So these images are ones I took just shortly before the opening. Our last-minute rush to ensure everything was set up, all the name tags were correctly placed. Um, so you can see here the exhibition was quite well set up within that space. We had a new up-and-coming curator this year who I think did a brilliant job. And I must say the variety and dare say quality of the works we had this year was incredible as always. These are more pictures of the setup at the gallery, and there at the bottom as people started arriving. The picture on your right is the table that held the invitational themed entries. So every year we have an open category where that all members can enter, and we have a different theme every year. This year the theme was water, and we had quite a number of very creative and interesting entries. And people were invited to vote as part of the People's Choice Award for their favorite entry in the invitational category. And those votes were open throughout the entire duration of the exhibition, so any visitor could have voted. And more pictures of the actual award ceremony. That is me opening the exhibition as well as announcing the winners. And on the right is our selector and head judge, Andile Dialvane, who actually needs no introduction from me. He's an icon within the ceramic South Africa industry. These are some of the winners who were able to make it to the actual opening ceremony. And it was lovely that so many of them could actually make it to collect their awards and certificates in person. So I'm sure many of these people are very familiar to members. And now to the winning works. The Fellows Award was won by Johann Swart for actually a very large vessel. It's deceptive in the picture, but it's quite a large vessel, which was wheel thrown and altered. The winner, after everyone had voted for the invitational category, was Jenny. Okay, on to our new signature winning works. And the second merit went to Ilse Steffens for her portrait sculpture called Contentment, a delightful anthropomorphic sculpture called Alpha Howl by Jennifer Beattie won the first merit award. And Astrid von Brucken's pair of jellyfish with sea anemone caught our judge's eye, and it won the new signature award. In our premier category, our second merit award went to Ludwe for his sculpture Mpinga, and it's really exploring his roots and identity. Our first merit went to Alila Hofmeyr for Catching Smoke, which uses very traditional techniques in how the work was made and fired, but it has a very contemporary sensibility about it. And our awards judge, Andile Dialvane, was quite taken by it. But the one that really caught his eye was Doreen Hemp's Rock Pool. And in fact, it was the second year in a row that Doreen has been awarded the Premier Award by two totally different group of selectors and awards judge. So I hope she'll be able to join shortly so we can ask her about the making of this work. Okay. Just in case some of you have not seen the actual catalog or have not seen images of the exhibition before, this is the link where you can download the catalog or view it online. And in there, you will find more detailed views of the works as well as the artist descriptions and the mediums and the size, dimensions, etc. I'll just leave that on for a second if anyone wants to screenshot it or write it down. And then to remind you that coming up soon on the 7th of September is our Potter's Market at Imhof, where we'd love to meet some of you. Come and visit us in the south. And then our next quarterly newsletter will be coming out soon in the first or second week of September. And to those of you who are not yet following us on Instagram, this is our Instagram handle, ceramics_Western_Cape. Okay, brilliant. So I would like to welcome now Astrid van Brucken, our winner of the New Signature Award. Firstly, thank you for joining and congratulations, Astrid.
Thank you.
I must, yeah. So if anyone has questions for Astrid, you're welcome to type them in the chat and if there's time at the end, we'll get through them. Okay. But firstly, Astrid, can you tell us a bit more about the piece that won the award and what inspired it and how it came to life?
Okay, great. You can hear me well, can you? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, these pieces were made in segments because I attend ceramics lessons with Amelia and Pichi in Vredehuk, Cape Town, Jacobs. And I'm always restricted to the height of their kilns. So, and what inspired the pieces was that I really enjoy cold water swimming. And I guess always swimming with jellyfish or trying to avoid jellyfish. And it was just something that came about quite organically within the sort of ceramic studio at Amelia's. So then I just started exploring that more. And in fact, I have it here so I can show you. So this is the bottom piece. And then I made a middle piece. There you can see the middle piece, which then fits onto that. And then I essentially had a top piece, which fits on top. So it kind of anatomically, I guess, represents the way a jellyfish sort of is structured. So it kind of made sense for the kiln and for the way to kind of imagine the way one would make a jellyfish. And then the sea anemone is a similar way of making clay in terms of extruding from quite a thick clay body. I started making a rounded shape, and then it just sort of evolved into a sea anemone. And it's not literally one, but sort of figuratively one. So yeah, it's just a fun exploration.
Brilliant. Thank you. So this was your first kind of entry into like a juried awards exhibition. So
Yes.
what was it like to put your work out there for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it is, I guess, always a risk in terms of when one is being creative. Taking risks is part of that. So I was happy that I took the risk and I was encouraged to enter. And yeah, I guess it feels quite exposing to a certain extent in a good and a not so pleasant way because of what could be judgment, either positive or negative, I guess. So in this case, thankfully, it was positive, and I was really happy to have Andile, choose the work. So I really appreciate Andile's work so much. So coming from him and yeah, the other selectors as well, of course. But yeah, it was really a lovely experience. So thank you for that.
So were there any challenges, Astrid, in making this piece, and how did you overcome them?
I guess the joining of the pieces was a bit of a challenge, and I landed up using silicone, the silicone you use to seal around a bath. So essentially, the silicone that one would use for anything water related. And that made for a very good join. And also, it's quite easy to separate them again afterwards. And then there's a little bit of the silicone that's left which is sort of molded to the shapes. So it's actually a really brilliant way of joining them. And then in terms of my preference of not using glazes, I've dealt with furniture for a while, and so I'm used to using wax on furniture, and then I experimented with different furniture waxes on the clay, and that landed up being quite a nice experience because by applying quite a few layers, it sort of adds a lovely patina to this Phoenix fine clay, which is otherwise could be quite yellow. And I used a chalky kind of wax. So it gave it more of a white, mottled kind of patina, which I really enjoyed. So that was also nice to experiment with.
Lovely. So, Astrid, tell us now a little bit about you and what role does clay or ceramics play in your personal and creative journey?
Great, yes. Yeah, so I think clay is sort of my first love in a way. I've always loved working with clay, even at school. I went to the German school, and when I was there, they didn't offer arts in high school. But I had a lovely art school teacher in primary school who then started offering after school ceramic lessons as a way of sort of allowing a few of us to continue our journey within the art sphere at school, even though we couldn't take it into the actual high school. So, so I've always, ever since school, loved it. And I studied architecture and interior design and urban design. And I guess through those years, because the studies were so intense, I didn't really practice while I was studying. But immediately afterwards, I joined lessons with Sharon Albert in Observatory at the time. She had a studio running at the community center. And then it was me and a whole lot of girlfriends who were there. And it was a way of, that's what I think about making clay. It's partly sort of a thing of solitude when I'm at home, and it's a way of sort of being mindful and sort of playing with the clay and sort of getting into that sort of lovely zone that one can get into. And then within a kind of community context and lessons, then I mean, I just loved, having all my girlfriends there and chatting and all the social things that go with it. So currently I'm living in Kommetjie, but I still do the trip into town once a week to go to Amelia's classes. Also again for the beautiful people that are there and who land up being friends and to have that kind of companionship while creating and always encouraging each other and just enjoying the exploration, I guess.
That's part of the magic of this medium that we are all drawn to. It brings us all together. Wonderful. This very
Mm,
ancient, earthy, elemental medium
exactly.
of clay that
And
we
it's
build
so
these
grounding,
societies around.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I found sort of emotionally. It's like a sort of regulating device, sort of in terms of like one's nervous system. It just allows me to really sort of tune in and ground, I guess. So, and I'm
Yes.
sure it does that for everyone, in fact. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Astrid, who or what would you say has influenced your style or approach to working with this medium?
The most. It's interesting. It's been so interesting since becoming more of a Instagram type of user rather than being more on Facebook. I guess initially when we got onto social media, we were mostly on Facebook. And now I find Instagram is much more accessible visually for me because I'm such a visual person. So it's interesting that you ask who, but I guess it's following people on Instagram. I mean, I think that the thing that I save to most on Instagram is my ceramics folder. And in terms of local, I lived in Cork Bay many years ago, in my early 40s, and then got to know Catherine Glenday. We lived in the same road, and then I went to lessons with Catherine, which was wonderful because that was the first time I was exposed to working with porcelain, and then also my friend Lisa Fira. She is a friend I made through biodanza, actually, so through that sort of dancing world. And we've been friends for many years now, and she's been a companion, mentor, encourager of note. So I think locally, I would imagine that the two of them have been, the most pivotal women in my sort of career or, explorations. Yes.
Wonderful. So, how do you see this award maybe influencing your confidence and maybe veering more into like your ceramics career, if I can call it that?
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, ideally, I would like to be able to start earning for the work, and also then being able to, I guess, make more. And uh, you know, I guess it's about ratios. At the moment, my architecture is at a higher ratio to my ceramics. And it would be nice if the sort of percentages were to shift a bit. So I'm seeing this really as a lovely sort of vote of confidence. It certainly has, I think, improved my confidence. I mean, even now speaking, I'm feeling quite nervous, but I guess that's normal. And but now I'd like to, put together maybe a PDF of sorts. Also, the Pure South gallery, and I've had a lovely chat with Amanda from that gallery in Hermanus, who were kind enough to to sponsor the prize money, which was very generous. So I guess I'll send some images to Amanda for her to choose some of my things, and then I'll put together a PDF and maybe send it through to other galleries in Cape Town. And so I'm kind of seeing this as a way of sort of introducing myself, I guess, to galleries, and then hopefully, gaining some traction there, and allowing a kind of little toe in the door, so to say, so that I could, maybe start exhibiting there. Before this exhibition, I've actually built so much work because in my studio with Amelia, I was sort of imagining. I had a few pieces at the Decorex last year with an architecture colleague of mine. And at the time, I already had made quite a few pieces, and since then, even more. And I was sort of wondering, oh, maybe I could have like a little show, like have my own show. And I even made little oyster platters already, imagining, putting oysters on and the whole aquatic kind of theme. So in a way, I've been dreaming into sort of having my own exhibition. But then I never really had the confidence to really go through with that. But Liz, one of the friends from my ceramics class, every time I arrived at ceramics, she would say, "So, how's the house? How's the exhibition going?" And so she would always remind me. So, yeah, so it's a combination of, I don't know how one really would do one's own exhibition without a gallerist, unless I, maybe did it. I've been thinking about doing a collaborative perhaps at Spin Street where I can, Paula, also a friend from ceramics, she paints beautiful kelp underwater paintings. Then there's Helen Vaughan, she takes those incredible underwater photographs. So I've been wondering whether it could be like a multimedia type of show. Um, then I would just like to choose a good time of year when there may be more tourists in town, so that there could be sort of some opportunity footfall into the gallery as well. Those all those types of ideas have been in my mind, but
Yeah.
I can't
That's
say that
brilliant.
I have.
And don't be limited to galleries. I mean, your works would look fabulous at the aquarium, for example. Just think out of the
Oh,
box as
that's a
well.
good idea.
Yeah.
Yes, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So
And I
so
see. I think
yeah.
Amanda. I think Doreen is in the room now as well,
Yes,
isn't
I'm
she?
so pleased
Yes,
that
me too.
Doreen
Yes,
persevered and managed to
yeah,
get in. So to bring my conversation with you kind of to a close, so
yes,
we can bring Doreen into the conversation.
yes,
So what advice, Astrid, would you give to someone hesitant about entering their first, say, our regional exhibition?
yes. Well, I would say just take that leap and just do it. There's nothing really to be lost, only everything to be gained. And it looks like a beautiful community of fellow potters and ceramicists that attended this exhibition. And there's a wealth of information and inspiration out there amongst the colleagues. So I think it's a lovely way of becoming exposed to more potters and skill and color, shapes, all that inspirational stuff. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's just wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for hosting such an amazing exhibition, by the way. I think you all did such a wonderful job, and of course the curator as well. But it just was so impressive. When I arrived there, I was quite blown away. I thought, oh my gosh, this is hectic. This is really good stuff. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Astrid.
Pleasure.
And, and it was lovely to learn more about you.
Thank you.
So, Doreen, it's so lovely to see you and that you were able to join. Firstly, huge congratulations for being awarded the Premier Award for the second time by two totally different groups of selectors and a totally different awards judge. So, you've already had some exhibition experience. How does this year's award differ, say, from past milestones in your career, and what was your reaction?
Total disbelief. I was absolutely positive that there was no chance in hell or in the exhibition that I would win anything. I thought I've already had the honor of being accepted and actually receiving the Premier Award. And so this time I just thought, well, I haven't a hope. I mean, I really, really haven't a hope. So when I heard, I'm afraid I just burst out crying for at least something like half an hour. So I was enormously grateful that I actually wasn't there, because I think I would have embarrassed myself terribly because it was such a surprise. And I was just so grateful and amazed and thrilled, and I can't tell you what other words, and grateful, terribly
Well,
grateful.
Well, I must say you were a worthy winner amongst very, very worthy and exceptional pieces. So can you tell
So,
us a bit about the piece that won the award, Rock Pool? What inspired it and how did it come to life?
it's the way I'm working at the moment, and it's mainly about the sea. And my great influence is things that I pick up on the beach when I walk. And somehow the pieces grow into what they are. Or where my influence starts isn't how it finishes. The clay speaks to me and I get lost in the actual making. And things just grow and develop. And it's happened to me always. I never end up with exactly what was in my head because clay takes over and it talks to me and it just shows me somehow. And I love clay. I've been working with clay. I started in 1957 when I think most people weren't even born, never mind doing it. And at that stage, there were no institutions, no teachers, no courses, no university or anything that taught clay. And even there wasn't a technicon. Technicon didn't have clay as a subject either. So I eventually found an English potter called John Edwards, who was a fifth generation potter from Stoke-on-Trent. And during this time, I was working as a librarian. And each evening I'd go to a different course, either drawing or I wasn't able to go to university to even do fine art. And John Edwards was the first person who introduced me to clay. So I've been doing clay now for 68 years. And I've loved every minute of it. And I've changed from doing what I started with, which were very basic bowls, and I threw on the wheel. And I grew from that. And one of the reasons why I did grow was that John said to me, please go overseas. Because at that point, certainly in Britain, the Craft Council in Britain, and there was a lot of ceramics going on in universities and colleges. So I did. I traveled to England, and the first place I went to was St. Ives and saw Bernard Leach and saw the work he was doing and the work William Marshall was doing. And he said, go to the Crafts Council and see what work they're doing. And there I met people like Lucy Ree and Hans Koper and all the legendary potters now. And I went to Leicester University and I was totally amazed by the equipment and what they were doing. And wow, it was an absolute eye-opener. And so from there, that was my start of my love affair with clay and porcelain later. I no longer throw because I just like the feel of clay and how it grows from where I start.
What an incredible journey, Doreen. So tell us a little or share a little bit about your technique and the challenges that you have to overcome in making your, well, they look like really delicate and fidgety to kind of join and put together. Just can you tell us a little bit about that?
Um, um, I love translucency of porcelain. And I try and get it to be as thin as it can, so that I've got that translucency and the sorry, delicacy of the and the feel of fragility in the things that I make. Of course, that's very off-putting for a lot of people, because they say, oh, they're too fragile, they're too delicate, I can't touch it, which isn't really true, because they're quite tough, really. And yeah, so that's what I feel and what I do with the clay. I make it as thin as I can, and I challenge of what porcelain can actually do.
Yeah. So what are you currently busy with in the studio?
I've got a firing in the kiln at the moment. I'm not sure what the temperature is. Perhaps I'll ask my husband to open the kiln, and I will, just turn it on, Deb, at the top. And then it will tell you what temperature it is. Oh yes, you can easily open it. It's 200, so it can be opened.
That's brilliant. We're having like a live stream to your kiln.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, my daughter's just going to take the phone to look in the kiln. Now, can you see that?
Yes, indeed. Wow, thank you. We're the first to clap eyes on your fired piece.
So that was a bit of luck. It was
Yeah.
cooling up. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. And if you look on my piece that got the award, it's had a whole lot of delicate, like sort of pieces. Now those are the roots of leeks, and it's quite hard to get leeks with roots on them, because most of the supermarkets and everybody actually cut the roots off. But I found a spa that actually sells the leeks with the roots on. And I dip those in porcelain and leave them overnight. And then I separate them, because they get all stuck together, and I separate them and I push them around, and then I dry them and then fire them to porcelain temperature. And I'm putting all things that I find now. A long time ago, I used to make porcelain vessels for Kirstenbosch. And in the center, I had to put, Deb, could you give me that one of those? Sorry, I'm asking my daughter to give me. I used to put fynbos in the center of the bowls. And at the same time, I designed cards for them. I painted cards for them, which they sold in the shop. Now, this one, I don't know how do I hold it up like this? Can you see that? Whoops, there. So that's got
Yeah.
a protea in the middle, and then I've poked holes in it so it's translucent and some were broken. But that is sort of what I was doing for Kirstenbosch. And I did that for quite a few years, plus making cards for them to sell in their shop. But I stopped because it was quite limiting, and it was also quite difficult, because some of the fynbos doesn't fire very well. You know, some of the proteas do, but I stopped doing that because I wanted to explore more things. But I've been doing, my grandson found me a a very big blue bottle. And so I coated that and all the twines of the sting in porcelain. And that's in the kiln at the moment. I don't know what's happened to that. Could you look there? So my daughter's going to look and see. I've got to have an assistant here otherwise. And can you see it, Deb? It's on the left-hand side.
Really hot.
They're too hot.
Yeah.
Okay, can't you pick them up? Okay, they're too hot. But it'll be interesting. I'll maybe send you a photo of what happened to the blue bottle. I'm very interested, and I've also done mermaid spruces.
Mhm.
So I'm experimenting with that at the moment, and it's a lot of fun. You know, because I pick up things on the beach all the time, like this is a bit of sponge. And I pick up things that nobody else would look at, quite honestly, you know, and then I go from things like this, which I find on the beach, and then I look at it, and at some point I start off, and then the clay takes over, and I do the thin lines or whatever I'm doing, you know, something like this I will find on the beach. And it's to me, it's magical. There's so much potential with that object to do sculptures, to do bowls, to do anything. So the whole world's my inspiration. And I love
It's
the
so
clay.
inspiring just to hear you talk about it. The mind just boggles at what's going on in your head and the creativity in there. Um, so, and thanks so much for sharing some of your technique and some of the things that inspires you. So, without as a kind of experienced or established ceramic artist there in the beautiful Southern Cape, do you feel that there's like a responsibility on you to inspire or mentor kind of more emerging artists?
I think, you know, I've had open studios and I think that my work does inspire other people, maybe to be braver and to be more aware of what is around, what can influence you. There's so much, not just on the beach, but everywhere you walk and everything you look at. There's a great thing of mine, my greatest influence is light, either through things or on things. And the light that touches the beauty in my eyes, whether it's a bone or whether it's a leaf or whether it's a shell, you know, and the Cape has incredibly beautiful light. It's clear and it's fresh and it's just awe-inspiring, just the light that touches things and lights them up. And I just love clay and I just love making clay. And so I don't know what else I can say.
Yeah.
Rosh, it's my passion. I've got three passions. I have three sort of constants. I do photography and I work with glass and I do, of course, my ceramics. And I'm never bored. I've never been bored ever. And those three are the most precious things that I can give to other people to look at and to see and to grow. And my one desire is to be given the time to carry on, because I've so much more to do, and I'm 86. And so I've been doing this for so many years, and it's never bored me or made me tired or made me thinking, oh, I've had enough of this now. You know, I've got a friend who said, oh no, I'm tired of putting so much out into the world. I'm going to stop creating. And I said, you can't. I couldn't stop. I've got to create. I've got to. If I'm down or if I'm tired or anything, I just need to walk into my studio and I go, oh, I'm in my happy place. I'm in my heaven.
Yeah. So in the type of technique that you're doing and working with organic materials and slips and things, I mean,
Yeah.
I imagine not everything fires as you expect it to. Sometimes you might end up with a pile of shards in the kiln, etc. But it seems you take that in your stride and maybe even incorporate them maybe in another work or something. So what's your approach to experimentation and failure, and what can you say about that?
Oh, lots of failures. Yeah. Especially in the beginning where there was no real help. So all my things were purely experimental. The temperatures were experimental, the thickness of the clay, the length of the firing, everything was experimental. Rosh, it was a very difficult time, and it was very difficult as well with my glass, because nobody here was making glass sculptures like I was. And there was nobody to ask, and there were no books, and there was nothing. So it was entirely, certainly with my glass, there were two, David Reed and Shirley Clutie from the Cape, who were blowing glass. I didn't want to blow glass. And the ceramics as well, there was just nobody to actually ask. It was, you can't believe it now, with the technicons and umpteen dozen teachers and all the rest of it, you know. And I have taught ceramics, I've judged at exhibitions, I've been involved with clay on so many levels. And it's never let me down. I've always just made and loved. Did I answer your question? I forget the question sometimes, you know.
I definitely think you
Ask
did.
me again if I haven't answered you.
So a final question from me before I open it up to some of our members who've joined, if they have any
Sure.
kind of message or learnings, advice that you'd like to put out there and share with our members?
I think that, what would I give advice to people? Just enjoy and play, where you don't mind if it works or not. You really can play. I went to a workshop with Belinda Blino a couple of years ago, and she works with natural clay. And so I also work with natural clay, and I add that to my ceramics. I roll the clay in sand or in glazes, and then see what happens. And I think for anybody working with clay, to play and to have fun and to enjoy just that feel of porcelain or clay, and to touch it and to just make, regardless of whether and I've never made to sell. I really haven't, because people don't buy my work because it's too fragile. but I've got to do what I've got to do. And I think for anybody working creatively with anything, whether it's painting or that, it's got to be for you and come from your soul. It's not something that you do because you're going to get money on the whole. You know, I mean, obviously there are people who make domestic wear, which is the living, and people can make living from ceramics, but that shouldn't be the bottom line. The bottom line must be to play and have fun and experiment and grow. And grow and try anything. I mean, you can try to do anything. I mean, I've had explosions in the kiln where, it's been absolutely shattered. And once my kiln in the beginning went to heaven knows what temperature because it didn't turn off. And it must have gone up to about 1,500 or something. And the result was fantastic. I mean, it exploded, but the pieces were absolutely beautiful. So I think for me, the encouragement to people that I could give, I mean, today youngsters have got so many books and so much to learn from and to grow from and to just get influenced by. And Rosh, it's just a wonderful medium and just a precious medium, and I love it. And I love making and I love creating, and that's all I can say to people. Do something that you love and that gives you joy and happiness.
Thanks, Doreen. Such a wonderful message and a way to end that part of the interview. I'm now going to invite any of the members online if they would like to ask Astrid or Doreen any questions if they're willing to answer. Okay. So thank you very much. And I see Melissa who's on the chat says thank you to you both, who's feeling so inspired by your words. And on that note, thank you all for joining our clay conversation. It will happen again next month. A recording will be made available on our YouTube channel, and we'll post links to that on our Instagram. And once again, thank you both, Astrid and Doreen. Remember, our catalog for the exhibition is still available, and you're welcome to go and look at it. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday and happy creating, everybody. We will chat